You made chief on your second or third boat?
I made chief on shore duty in 2003. At back in those days, it was a float training group firefighting school in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. And
Okay,
then when
so
yeah, so 2003, it was ATG. Then it went to CNE right before I PCS.
so you went from the first ship to the second two ships, and you went up to DC1. Now, on the second two ships, was that a whole swap, or did you do a full 3 years on each ship?
No, so I was on the O'Brien and then the Cushing, and then I went to shore duty in Hawaii. I made chief in 2003. And then I went to my next command, which was the USS Gary in 2005.
And
And
that
then
was in Yoko?
correct. And then from 5 to 7, I was on the USS Gary, and then the Gary went back to the States, and the McCampbell came out. So I went from an FFG to a DDG. Went from
Now,
a Yugo to a Cadillac.
yeah, but you were in a committed relationship with your wife for those second two ships for sure, right? Like you were in a relationship. And I say that because as a young man in the military, especially in the Navy, it can be crazy out there, right? You can hit some of these ports, especially you're coming from hometown USA. You go to some of these countries like Pattaya Beach, Thailand, or freaking Whisper Alley, Okinawa, or whatever it is, right? And
Yeah.
people could lose their damn minds, right? People could, and it's like, as a chief, when I got back to the fleet, I'm married. I wouldn't even go on Liberty, bro. Like I had to be very careful who I would trust myself with because it was wild out there. And I always wanted to be in the place that I could be there to support the people that were coming back trying to figure out how did I let myself dive into that deep hole? Because you start drinking and the next thing you know, you're doing crazy things and then you're back on the ship and you're like, what was I thinking? What was I doing? My mom and dad didn't raise me to be that way. I'm not this kind of like, what am I? And I've always been there for them. And then on the reverse, we've unfortunately always seen even senior people out there doing their thing, right? And I remember as a master chief, I would be counseling guys because they would come talk to me about geobatching and missing their family and struggling, or how many times did somebody make a bad choice, right?